Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Regista Football Podcast. My name is Jack, and today I'm joined here by my co-host Ben. How are you doing, sir?
I don't know, Jack. I'm kind of neither here or there. How are you?
I'm definitely here, but not quite there either. But we'll definitely get into why that actually is. This is part of our Pub Diaries series. This series is dedicated to us drinking around San Diego, discussing what's happened after games, and not so much breaking it down, but talking a little bit more emotionally as opposed to it being superly heavily stats driven.
I feel like this is more of like a peer project for this podcast.
It is actually. So today we are located in North Park again, which is where we both live in San Diego. We're actually in Pure Project in North Park, which is known for, I'd say, a lot of different types of beers, but specifically kind of more modern styles of beers. But this isn't so much about the beer more than it is about the football that we just watched. I'll go through like the order of operations for the show today. So what we're going to do first is we're going to discuss the 0-0 draw at the Emirates between Liverpool and Arsenal. We're then going to touch on, at the end, the Semenyo transfer to Manchester City and what that means for the rest of the Premier League. How does that sound to you, Ben?
I love the order of operations. It's good.
Brilliant. So let's start talking about Liverpool Arsenal. How far are we from kick from the end of the game? About an hour and a half or so. Liverpool play Arsenal at the Emirates, and honestly, like going into this game, I was kind of fearful that we could be in with a battering. It didn't end out that way. Liverpool, I think, were actually quite good on the day. I'd say it was kind of like a back and forth game for the most part, but it's definitely a tale of two halves. Let's get into the kind of lineups here. Anything surprised you about Arsenal for the lineups?
Not too much. I knew that Calafiori was getting a little better, but Nkapie starting was pretty normal.
Yeah.
Saka starting, Trossard starting was normal. I felt like they were rested over the previous week in order to be ready for this match. I know that we'll touch on other starters later on, but generally, I felt like we were set up in a way to control the game.
Yeah.
And really dominate the ball throughout the entire game. How about you? What any surprises for you? What do you see?
It's a good question. I think there were rumors kind of circulating yesterday that Ekitike wasn't going to be part of the matchday squad, which, I mean, we had this conversation yesterday. I was actually pretty afraid about that, mainly because, like, Liverpool are really lacking attacking depth at the moment, and moving Wirtz to, like, that false nine position, I think, doesn't quite get the best out of him. But ultimately, Ekitike doesn't make it there. Wirtz goes from the left-hand side to start up front. Both Bradley and Frimpong play, which out of possession essentially means that we have two like interchangeable right backs, and that's how they've been playing. And another surprising change for me was no Curtis Jones. I'd say Curtis Jones has been quite important to us in the last few weeks. He's that type of guy, really, that I think has played really well in terms of like interchanging positions with Wirtz and really good connection with Wirtz, but they decided to not play him in this game. Instead, McAllister got the nod with Gravenberch in the pivot of midfield. Szoboszlai was playing attacking midfield with Wirtz up front. I'd say, like, overall, like, just looking at the game, it was definitely a game of two halves, would you say?
I definitely agree with that, yeah.
Arsenal had, I'd say, vast majority of possession or, like, domination in that first.
Yeah, it was. They had 60% possession in that first half, which wasn't surprising. There were periods when I was considering, okay, like there was periods when I was like, man, I feel like we have over 75% possession, but it did kind of outline to overall 60%. Momentum was on Arsenal's way.
Definitely,
that is honestly like when Arsenal was doing the best. They dominated on expected goals, shots on target, passes. They dominated in overall like duels won in that first half. When you say it's a game of two halves, today was a game of two halves. It was kind of incredible how much it was leaning towards Arsenal without any results in that first half. Not even anything close, to be completely honest with you. Like, yeah, we had a couple shots on target, but nothing that was that dangerous. What did you see in that first half overall?
Like from a from both the Liverpool and Arsenal perspective, I think they both had the first half they were kind of aiming to have. I think Liverpool kind of came into the game knowing that Arsenal were going to want to dominate the ball, and they had to have a plan to be able to be safe playing in their own penalty box. And I'd say for the most part they were. There were a couple of chances that I thought were pretty dangerous. I remember Saka had one in the first half where he goes past Kirkes and gets the byline and cuts it back.
Yep.
And I think it's McAllister that gets on the end of it to prevent it from going to Trossard. But like aside from that, like I can't think of many big chances that Arsenal managed to get in that first half, despite the amount of possession and like positional dominance that you guys had.
Yeah. I remember when we were talking about this during our regular podcast, the keys that I had to victory was lightning tempo. That like the first 10 minutes of Bournemouth, right? I'm in the second half of Villa, just being able to move that ball quickly, overload the midfield, and get the ball through. And I just didn't see any of that. It felt sluggish.
Yeah.
Right. And it was kind of frustrating to watch. It's like, okay, like this kind of football I've seen Arsenal play, but this is the kind of football you play when you aren't going for the win.
I agree.
It's the kind of football that Arsenal transitions to when they're not going for a goal. And I felt like they weren't going for, they were looking for a goal, but they wanted a goal to happen instead of making the goal happen. And then as soon as there was that slip up, that miscommunication, when Frimpong got through, had a heavy touch, Sliby got in front of him, passed it back, almost could have been a own goal.
Yeah.
But then it was kicked out by Raya. But then it went directly to Bradley. Bradley had that hit, and I thought that was going in. I was like, how is this? Like, how is this working? It was a great chip. Hits the woodwork, comes out. Timber cleans it up. But at that moment, everything changed. That was, I think, the moment when I was like, when you could see that shift in, oh, we're not going for this. They're still dangerous. Let's hold back. Let's control this game. And they never got back into the dynamic, progressive play of trying to make something happen. They wanted to wait for something to happen.
Yeah, it's funny, actually, because like I remember watching that first half, and I'm not going to lie, like I was nervous because of how much like territorial dominance you guys had. But overall, like Liverpool basically created a shell around the whole of their box. Like you guys didn't have many situations where you got into our box and could get shots away, which is, to be fair, like a testament to Liverpool. There have been times this year where we've been like legitimately porous. We were far from porous today. But the whole team defended really well as a unit. Kind of like understanding the assignments they had out of possession, and you could see that especially within the midfield battle in the first half. I think what Liverpool were doing, and very unlike Liverpool, don't get me wrong, like we've switched man to man in a lot of games this year. Specifically though, we typically do that in the second half, but we decided to do that from the start of this game. And our whole game plan essentially from Arsenal's build-up was to stop the pivot and Rice and Zubimendi getting on the ball. What that essentially means is they cannot be too bothered about your centre-backs in possession. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, but there are plenty of times in this game where your centre-backs were getting a huge amount of space outside our box.
No, I mean, you're very right. I was surprised by the amount of time Saliba was on the ball in the first half. And yes, Saliba started out as a forward in his youth and has moved back into that center-back position. And he honestly is a really great ball-playing center-back, but he doesn't do great under pressure.
Yeah.
He does really well when he's one-on-one, but when he progresses that ball in the midfield, which he was doing often while Rice slotted back into that center-back position for him, it felt nervy. I was like, why are you so far up the field? What are you doing with this ball? And he couldn't actually complete anything from there. I believe he had some pretty bad overall like pass completion. Give me one sec. I didn't have it memorized this because we are only 30 minutes out, or an hour and 30 out of watching this game. But once he actually got back there, he had a 93% pass. But then really, he didn't have any long balls. He had 50% accurate long balls. And he didn't really win any aerial duels because he wasn't back there. He wasn't standing up any of those long balls either. So it felt like a null half for him. And I kind of was upset with how much he decided to do that. Rather than potentially getting into space, drawing Rice out and maybe it'd be a bit more risky, and then laying the ball off to Rice and then getting back into his position.
I actually think a pretty like standout fact is in terms of touches in the opposition box in that first half.
Yeah.
You guys have 13 touches in the box, which actually isn't that bad from a statistical perspective. But a lot of those, I think, are typically players with back to goal,
Yeah.
or like being heavily marshaled out of the position as well. Kind of like that whole pattern continues for the whole of the game, to be honest. Like Liverpool pretty comfortable with both of the centre-backs getting on the ball high up the pitch. And it really does come down to the idea that we'd rather have your centre-backs on the ball in that part of the pitch than your midfielders.
I think Liverpool did a really good job managing this game. And we've talked about in the past how Liverpool need to dominate in the midfield, which they did. They had that box midfield. Yeah. They also were very confident on the defense in their own space. And they felt very comfortable, which was frustrating for me. But also, like, I was like, okay, there is something here. They figured something out.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, because there were times in that game where I was nervous to the way Arsenal were pressing Liverpool's, really Alisson. When Alisson had the ball, there were so many times where Gravenberch or Szoboszlai like dropped deeper to pick up the ball. And I would say, like, one of my keys to victory, we didn't win, but it was being brave in possession, like not consistently pumping it long.
Yeah.
And there were so many times where Liverpool had decent interplay building up to like second and third phases, which quite frankly, I haven't seen from them a lot this year.
What do you think that's largely because they knew how to play the game against Arsenal, or were they just making sure that they were defensively solid?
I think a bit of both. I think the aim, especially in the first half, was defense first, but if we can find situations where we can build up on the sides, typically that's how we were getting joy in this game, I think, is in fact, that chance from Bradley comes off of a break to the right, where there's some good interplay between Wirtz, Frimpong, and Bradley, and he finds space on the right. Frimpong ends up getting some space down the right, but I think it's just about being brave. So many times in these types of situations, especially against Arsenal, they suffocate you in your own box, essentially, where really the only way out is to hoof it long and ultimately lose second balls. I can't recall many times where Liverpool were having to deal with that.
There was actually a moment when I was watching the match and I was like, okay, win the first ball, great. And then I was like, win the second ball, and they would not win the second ball. Over and over, they would not win the second ball.
But mate, how many times have I told you this year, Liverpool do not win second balls?
Yeah.
That's been our whole problem.
Yeah.
But this game, the midfield was just, they were on it. They knew exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And typically I look at Arsenal's midfield as a way more harder combative midfield than us. But not today. I think our guys really showed out.
Yeah. I think I was very impressed. I was expecting this game to go completely differently, but
Me too.
It was, even in the first half, even though we had possession, it felt like that Liverpool was really holding its own. One thing I do want to talk about also was I was really surprised by seeing Szoboszlai coming up and playing that double pivot in the front rather than Gakpo. I'd expect Gakpo to rotate up, but Gakpo was playing a little deeper.
I think a lot of that comes down to Szoboszlai is a way more effective presser.
Okay.
The way we were pressing in that game, typically when you're, like I said a couple of times, when your centre-backs have it, we don't press them. What I noticed in that first half is when we would press from the front, it would be when Raya has the ball.
Okay.
So they're doing exactly what I've been calling them to do for weeks and not give the keeper time to drop bombs long.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Jack, is Arnie's listening to our podcast.
Could be. Arnie, by the way, if you want to nudge in with a sneaky Liverpool sponsor, I'll even take an AXA sponsor. You could do that as well. But just Raya not having a bunch of time to be able to place balls the way he would want to. I think Raya's distribution is one of the strongest parts of his game.
Yep.
And I don't think that was really a factor today because of how Liverpool dealt with that situation when Raya was on the ball. Yeah,
Raya was definitely the weaker of the two. Of the two keepers, he had a 76% accurate pass. He only had 1 in 7 accurate long balls.
Wow.
Yeah. Not super great for him.
So that's kind of how that first half goes. I would say I get out of that first half and I'm not feeling like we've been battered, but I feel like we've been I don't know how I would put it, not dealt with, but we didn't have a bunch of great opportunities. I would argue that we have the best opportunity of the half with Bradley.
Yeah.
But overall, like, my takeaway from that half is we can't continue to play like this and hope to get something from this game. And they didn't, Ben. They didn't continue to play like that.
Yeah, it was as we moved from the first half to second half, I thought like, okay, Arsenal's going to come out. They're going to increase the tempo. They see what they've done. They've studied Liverpool, and now it's time to break Liverpool apart.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
And it didn't happen. They came out. They were slow and sluggish once again. They didn't have control. They didn't have possession or control.
Passive.
Yeah,
So
very passive. It felt like they kind of made up their mind on, okay, let's wait for the chance and let's take advantage of the chance rather than, like I said in the first half, take advantage of the delay.
I mean, how many situations can you recall where Szoboszlai and Wirtz were dropping really deep to just control the ball, essentially around the back line of Liverpool? And there were times in that second half where Liverpool's back line was on the halfway line.
Yeah.
Like, Arsenal were deep in that mid-block.
Yeah.
Not deep, but like in that mid-block. Not particularly pressing and being relatively passive on the ball.
Yeah.
And like, for me, and we'll transition to this, I think Gyökeres, in pretty much both phases of the game at the moment, is not the guy that Arsenal need. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I don't think he's mobile enough when it comes to the way Arsenal want to press with that forward two. I think Odegaard is one of the best pressers from the front in Europe. I think he's really, really good at it. I just don't look at Gyökeres as that guy to be able to press the other half of the pitch effectively.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Like from Gyökeres, I don't feel like he is an effective presser. He just kind of is a person in the middle of the field. He's there. The only action that I recall him doing quite well was
slip through ball.
Yeah, that slip through ball was
nice,
it. Yeah,
nice ball,
he picked up the ball, he slipped it through. It was an opportunity, but then him slipping that ball through means he's not
in the box
to finish it, and that's what he's used for.
It's so true,
right? So like, great job you did that, but like, why are you doing that?
Yeah. Like, and especially with the positional dominance at that stage you guys had, it's kind of like, Gyökeres, we don't particularly need you to pull out wide and start combining with all of us. We need you to occupy centre backs, especially in that type of situation of the game. Mm-hmm. But like, I think overall, if you look at like the profiles you have on your bench, there's no way from my perspective that I think Gyökeres should be starting for Arsenal when Gabriel Jesus is fit.
Yeah, when Gabriel Jesus is fit and in the kind and playing the kind of football he's been playing as he comes on as a sub. And maybe it's that they are managing his minutes, and I get that, right?
I understand.
Like, he's coming off of a full year of a major injury, and I get managing those minutes, but you have to do something.
Pretty much a year before that of major injuries. Yeah. It's like the guy's just been perennially injured for the most part. I understand it from Arsenal's perspective. You know, you buy this guy. How much was Gyökeres? Like 70 mil.
Yeah.
You buy this guy in the summer. The fans are like hungry for a striker.
Yeah.
You sign this guy with a good scoring record in Europe.
Yeah.
And like, we've even seen him play in European competition against good teams and actually do really well. Yeah. I just think it's not the correct profile for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, when you see situations, you know what Gyökeres wants from the game, and Arsenal just they either don't want to give it out to him, like give the ball to him in space. Mind you, there wasn't a lot of space here today, and I don't think he's the right striker for that type of game. And ultimately, that comes from what I said initially. Most teams Arsenal will play with a low block. Like, that's pretty standard at this point.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come from, well, I think it's twofold. It comes from the fact that Arsenal notoriously build up really slowly. They don't like counterattacking. Yeah. The reason they don't like counterattacking is they want positional dominance.
They don't want to play basketball.
Yeah, straight up. But like, Gyökeres isn't that guy that's going to find space in the paint and score plenty of twos. Like, he's not going to play that way. He's the type of guy that gets it early, in behind, and has the ability to kind of run on the end of things. And I think Arsenal just don't have the style to cater to him, really.
Yeah. One more thought on Gyökeres. And yeah, I'm going to be hard. I'm going to expect this, the striker to do more. But I also had this thought, I want to say about last week or so, of what if he knows he isn't the guy for Arsenal, but the reason he came to Arsenal is because he wanted to come back to the Prem, to credit Brighton. He played Coventry. Is that right?
Coventry, yeah.
Yeah. But he wanted to come back to England and learn this kind of football. Like, he knows that he can put the ball in the net, but he knows that he's not the guy, and he's just been stepping in for now, and he's doing his best to do it. And you know me, Jack, like I'm the guy who gives a lot of grace to a lot of players on Arsenal as well as other people. But this is not his season because he doesn't know how Arsenal plays. And Arsenal aren't ready to transition to the kind of football he plays.
No, they're not.
I think that he's still a tool that Arsenal can use.
Definitely.
We're not using him properly. It's because the team's not set up to use him properly. But if we set up the team to use him properly, there are certain situations that he could be used. But it's not right now.
I'll give you an example. Like last pod, when we spoke about that Bournemouth game, Bournemouth just play aggressively. They're going to give you space in behind. Even then, you weren't putting balls in behind for him.
Yeah.
And in that same game, you had Madueke and Martinelli starting.
Yeah.
That is like a forward line that needs balls put into space. I don't know. Like, I understand. Doesn't want to play basketball. But like with a setup like that and like profiles in your front line like that, it's not even playing basketball. It's just playing to their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's ultimately like kind of what I get away with it. And he might be right. It might end up emerging that he's not the main guy.
Yeah.
But he's there and he's a number and he's ultimately squad depth in situations where you need a player like that. But I think it's time to see Jesus start. I don't know about you.
No, I absolutely agree. I do think it's time that we bring him back. I mean, we have him for a good 4 to 5 weeks before he tears something else. So let's use him.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. And I actually know how you feel like that. We have a guy called Joe Gomez.
Oh yeah, Joe Gomez. I've heard of
guy.
that guy. He came on today, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did. Like, and we'll touch on Bradley in a minute. It didn't look good at all. Let's talk about Saliba in that first half. I think we've touched on the defenders or your two centre backs having a bunch of time on the ball.
Yeah.
But I think there were times definitely in that first half, where he looked like the most progressive player on the pitch.
He did. And it was kind of frustrating. Like, why are you having your center back become the most progressive player? And yeah, it's because maybe the other two players that you use for your pivot are locked down.
Yeah.
But then apart from that, at that point, do you then drag your players back and play a build-up style a little bit more? Do you break down that midfield? And I think what I said, maybe not on the last pod, but probably in one of our group text messages, that this game was going to be won by line-breaking passes.
Yeah.
And Liverpool made the most line-breaking passes.
They did.
Arsenal made 0, as I remember. A lot of balls over the top, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I'd say there's a couple of situations there, right? So instead of Liverpool being aggressive to allow for those line-breaking passes, which I'll concede, we've done that way too regularly in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you heard me complain about the shitty forward line press we have and then we fall straight into that mid-block? We did none of that this game. We completely conceded territory.
Yeah.
It was the idea of, okay, we understand that we're probably not going to be able to stop you from building up, so just do it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
The first time you come in contact with one of our players is when you're in our final third.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we played in that first half. And ultimately, I think I wouldn't say it surprised Arsenal, because I think Arsenal are really used to teams playing them that way. But I think it goes to show, like, when a team that actually has like a bunch of quality can do that, it's really, really tough to break down.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as the team doesn't score own goals, like they're going to win. They're going to draw the game at least.
And actually, funny enough there, your set piece delivery today was atrocious.
Awful.
Terrible.
Awful.
There are a couple of situations, and actually I'll give Liverpool some credit. I think the first corner that we conceded was in the 11th minute.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that corner went in, they changed their corner structure slightly. So remember when I was talking about like Konate and Gravenberch in zone 2?
Yeah.
Gravenberch was playing way further outside of zone 2, and they were using like a combination of zonal marking and man marking in that situation.
Yeah.
And ultimately it comes down to, and the way I always think about these corners is the keeper is taller than everyone because he has hands.
Yeah.
And I think Alisson dealt with those corners quite well when they were placed in decent areas. But I would say, like, overall, the set-piece delivery was poor.
Yeah, set-piece delivery was poor. I felt like most of them just weren't on target where they should have been. I will acknowledge that it was raining and there could be some slippiness, but I'm not going to make that an excuse.
Sounds like Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna make that excuse, but like
the roof was closed.
The
grass was a bit low.
Yeah. Actually, I noticed that the grass looked kind of off today because it was snowing the day. No,
fair.
Bullshit. No,
was your grass, by the way?
Yeah, it was our grass. So I'm not gonna make any of those excuses. But I remember Declan had a set piece as well at the end of the first half where he just basically gave it to Allison. Put it in no man's, and you don't put a set piece like that in no man's because the keeper's gonna come at it because they have the space to run up to it.
I mean, traditionally, like the way you guys use set pieces is you put the ball under the bar. For anyone to attack. Even if it like just creates a bit of confusion, it starts to bobble around the box a bit.
Yeah, we talked about this last week when you put the ball under the bar, you let it glance off of Gabriel, and we didn't do that.
That's all that needs to happen ultimately. And I don't think you guys take full advantage of set piece situations, but I would say like when you guys do have set piece situations, Liverpool deal with them quite well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the second half then. So like we said, the second half is a completely different type of football. I'd say there were times in that second half where Arsenal do get on the ball and they look quite dangerous. But ultimately, for Arsenal to concede 65 possession at home in that second half, it's far too passive then.
Yeah, it absolutely was. 65%.
Giving under Arteta?
Not under Arteta. It did happen under Unai Emery, and it did happen at the end of Arsene Wenger during the Banner era when we did give up all that possession, which I haven't seen in so long. Because in the there were periods in the first half when I also was like, no, we're giving away a lot of possession, and then the second half we just would sit back on the ball so long and give up possession.
Yeah,
and maybe I think a part of that was we were trying to play a counter with Martinelli on the wing.
Yeah,
that's what he does well.
That was later though.
That was much later.
When was that sub made?
76.
Yeah, so 76 minute.
Yeah,
is where you guys essentially change the dynamic of that forward line.
Yeah.
You start putting on, because ultimately I think you guys understand Liverpool are just happy to keep possession at this stage.
Yeah. Sorry, Martinelli comes in 64. So
64th minute. Okay. So then Martinelli comes on for Trossard and Jesus comes on for Gyökeres. Mm-hmm. And then a bit later in that half, Madueke comes on for Saka and Eze comes on for Odegaard.
Yeah.
Not only does that show the quality of depth you have on your bench, but it goes to show like you have guys that can play in a slightly different style. But I honestly just think Liverpool deal with that situation incredibly well.
Yeah.
Anytime where you guys could find some space in behind, I don't think Martinelli, ultimately Martinelli has the first shot of the second half for Arsenal.
Yeah.
First shot on target, which wasn't that 90th minute.
Yeah.
Liverpool deal with these defensive situations really, really well. And that's one of the first times I can genuinely say that this season.
Yeah.
Granted, I think we've had some really good defensive games. Like we defended incredibly well against Real Madrid. We defended really well against Inter Milan. But to see this in a game of this magnitude and now being 10 unbeaten for Liverpool is a stepping stone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say Liverpool didn't particularly have or create anything of note in that second half. Szoboszlai has a couple of like free kick situations and shots from outside the box. But if you look at our shot map, we don't really trouble Arsenal offensively in that second half, despite the amount of possession we have.
I feel like there were some moments in which I was nervous, but not as nervous as that Bradley shot.
Mm-hmm.
Me and everyone in the pub, like every single time we gave up a free kick at the at the top of our box.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Like not like this, not like this.
That's us every time there's a corner. It's like again.
And so like the first one, at least it was high and wide. The second one,
closer.
It was a lot closer, and I was like, don't give up one more because he's figured it out. Like he's nailed on. Like as soon as he gets that third one, he's gonna put it in the back of the net. I think we still dominate shots on target as well as like expected goals overall. We don't dominate total shots. We had 5 total shots in the second half to our 3, but we had 2 on target, 1 big chance.
The game in terms of XG ends 0.57 for Arsenal to 0.36 for Liverpool. Liverpool actually edged possession on the day because of how dominant they were in that second half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Liverpool, although Arsenal have 9 shots, Liverpool have 8, but Liverpool have 0 shots on target. And guys, I encourage you to look at Liverpool's shot map. It's hilarious. It's genuinely funny. It's kind of like, this is what you get when you play Florian Wirtz up front. There is absolutely no one in the box to take shots. Actually, there was this one moment with Wirtz, I think it's in the first half, where he picks up the ball on the edge of the box. He takes it past Odegaard, and he's driving into the box. And I'm like, Florian, fucking shoot. Just hit the ball. Just shoot. But Liverpool do what they do. Don't shoot. We have no shots on target in that game. We actually don't register any big chances because of that as well. But the game is ends up to be like much of a muchness, right?
Yeah.
Really one, I guess, sad part of this for Liverpool. I mean, I'd have loved to win the game, but I said to you yesterday and the day before, like, I don't expect Liverpool to come away with this game with 3 points. A draw, I'm always happy with a draw away at the Emirates, even if Liverpool are in the best moment and Arsenal aren't.
Yeah.
Connor Bradley. Connor Bradley looks like he badly twists his knee at the end.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, if I am a Liverpool player in that situation, I see Martinelli do what he does to Connor Bradley, I'm punching that guy in the face.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if you saw Arnie's comments after the match, but Arnie, I think he handled it really well. He said, yeah. And so, like, yeah, I think Martinelli, if he'd known that was an actual injury,
I think that's a big thing too. But, like, I understand Martinelli's, what's the term?
I think he was frustrated. He just wanted to keep playing
he wants
the ball
game
on.
to keep going, right? But, like, from my perspective, like, you see the guy twist his knee, like, he hurts his knee. If I ever see a guy fall over clutching his knee non-contact, player welfare is more important than you putting the ball back in play off of a throw-in.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool's players, I hate to say it, Liverpool's players deal with that in a really soft way.
Yeah.
I'd have liked to see them really get around him and make him pay for that, because I don't think that's the best conduct. I think it's if one of my players did that to an Arsenal player in that situation, I'd understand the motive of why they're doing it, but I don't think it's good. And he could now face we don't know the extent of the injury yet, but he could face like an extended spell on the sideline.
Yeah. And then who do you have for right back now?
Frimpong.
Yeah.
Or Gomez. And we just
Spas.
about Gomez.
Yeah. I feel like you don't really have a lot of options. I hope Bradley isn't injured horribly. I hope that it is, just
the pain is that I see him stretched off, man. Like, as soon as you get stretched off, like, I'm kind of fearing the worst in that scenario.
Yeah.
But, like, fair enough to Martinelli. Wanted to get the game back in. I want to see Liverpool players deal with that in a different way, man.
Yeah.
But the game ends 0-0. What's your key takeaway from this game?
I think the key takeaway is
from an Arsenal perspective.
Yeah, from Arsenal perspective, a key takeaway is Arsenal is still more concerned, and Arteta, I would say, is probably still more concerned about control and dominance versus finding the way to win. And I control and dominance does win games.
It does,
but it's a long road.
It is,
and we have 17 games left. We can't continue doing that. We have faced Man City at home, and we drew them. We have faced Liverpool at home, and luckily all of our Liverpool games for the season are done.
Liverpool have taken 4 points off Arsenal this year.
Exactly. And, like, do you win the league by giving up 4 points to the champions, right? I watched the Szoboszlai interview when they asked him, like, oh, you're going to go play the champions. And Szoboszlai's like, no, we are the champions.
What's your opinion of that, actually?
I mean,
I've seen Arsenal fans not like the way he spoke.
He's factual about it. Like, he is also defending his team, and he's saying, no, we are a team. We are a team to be threatened. And, like, I could get riled up, be like, oh, you're shit, but, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I think what he does is he gets into the emotional aspect of rallying his teammates and his supporters to be like, no, we are the champions. We can still do this.
I think the peel it all back. I think the question from the journalist is disrespectful. Arsenal are not the champions yet.
Yeah.
They definitely might be.
Yeah.
But no, Arsenal are playing the champions.
Yeah.
You've not won anything yet.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit disrespectful to Liverpool, that question, and I'm happy with the way he answered it.
Yeah.
Key takeaway for Liverpool, 10 unbeaten now. Like I said, really, the the saddest unbeaten run you'll see. Lots of draws in there, some draws we shouldn't have had. But I think, like, if you compare this Liverpool to the team that plays Forest and PSV, stepping stones are definitely present, and I think we've been better really since the start of that 10-game run. Like,
Yeah.
some pretty notable, not victories, but results in that. I think it stands Liverpool in decent stead to what I think their limit is in this Premier League season is to make top 4, and I think they'll do that quite comfortably.
Yeah. I think they have proven that that run when they were losing has been completed. They're moving on. They've figured it out.
Yeah.
And I think what I really want to see from Liverpool, and this isn't just like a personal thing because I have Mo Salah on my fantasy team, but like I think like he will come in and help them with some of these areas.
I definitely think he will too.
I was thinking about it as I was walking the Bluefoot, and I was like, man, we're kind of set up for this. Like Mo Salah isn't there.
Yeah.
Liverpool is struggling. They have a lot of injuries. We should win this.
Yeah.
With how we've been doing, and I think Arsenal just didn't bring the game to it. Liverpool did, and I think the result actually was what was deserved.
Who's your man of the match? From an Arsenal perspective, and I'll give mine for Liverpool.
Oh, man of the match, Arsenal's perspective. Man, it's hard. It is. It's very hard. Like I didn't see a lot happening overall. Maybe Timber. I think Rice came a bit more alive in the second half than he was in the first half. He was missing entirely in the first half. I think probably Timber has to be it.
Okay.
As defensive and offensively, he was sharper than most everyone else.
I actually agree with you there. I think he has some of the better moments in the game.
Yeah.
I would actually say mine could be Saka. I think when Saka picks up the ball, he looks like the most dangerous Arsenal player.
Yeah.
And this is a regular occurrence. Liverpool, man of the match. I mean, it's probably going to go to one of our midfielders. I'm going to say Dominic Szoboszlai because of the role he has to play in that game.
Yeah.
I don't have these stats in front of me, but he must have covered some fucking distance, man. Basically playing in the forward line and having to essentially retreat the whole of that first half, and then basically comes off that forward line in the second half and starts interlinking play with centre backs and basically bossing that midfield. So Szoboszlai would be mine. I guess that's pretty much everything we have to discuss the game. What's Arsenal's next fixture in the Premier League?
Arsenal have Forest away.
Forest away. I think Liverpool's is Burnley at home. So we'll be back to discuss those and preview those. We have one other thing to touch on as well. Antoine Semenyo, off the back of a gorgeous goal yesterday. Did you see that goal?
Yeah, it was I wasn't watching the game too much, and then I walked up and I was like, wait, like this could be a draw.
Yeah.
And he had the last hit.
He
goal.
Can fucking hit a ball, man.
And it was his birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, like it was beautiful. I was very happy for him. I really like Semenyo.
Me too.
Semenyo is one of those players when I first watched him play, and I first noticed him, it was because he scored a goal against Arsenal. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But since then I've followed him, and I think he is such a great player. What is happening to him next? Man City actually have paid his release clause at 65 mil, and he's on his way to joining Man City for that fee. For what it's worth, shock horror, I'm not from Liverpool. I'm actually from Bristol, and I grew up also a Bristol City fan and still follow them closely today. Semenyo was brilliant for City, and City get quite a chunky sell-on clause from that. Nice.
I'd like to see the owners of City put it back in this window.
Yeah.
Depending on how we receive that sum, I'm not sure how that goes, but if it is, I'd like to see City sign a forward. Because I think we really need that at the moment. But overall, from Semenyo's perspective, he's such a versatile player.
Yeah.
I think he gives City lots of now rotational options. I mean, if you think about it, so like I would always start Doku on the left. I think Doku is such a weird fucking footballer, man. I think Doku is the best one-on-one player in the world. And being like the type of manager Pep is, he loves wingers to beat people one-on-one. And in fact, whenever he's had like extreme success in his career, there's always one or two profiles in the squad like that. And Doku is that. But Semenyo,
He had that Argentinian guy, right?
he did.
That one guy? Yeah, okay.
What's his name? Tidy?
Something like that. No. It's the opposite. Yeah.
The opposite.
Dirty.
Dirty. So, dirty aside, Semenyo comes into City and he gives him lots of options. I think and correct me if you think I'm wrong, I don't think he's a nailed-on starter for them.
I don't. And this is what frustrates me about him going to City. You're at the peak of your career. I get that you want to go to another team, maybe win something. But would you do that to sacrifice the amount of playtime you get? Because who does City have right now left? It's Doku. They're going to go with Doku. Who do they have on the right?
They have Semenyo. They have Cherky.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to start above either one of them?
I wouldn't start him over Cherky. I think Cherky is like a elite chance creator.
Yeah.
And both-footed like Semenyo. I think what he does, though, is allow City to play a game where they can play a little bit more in behind. I don't think they have a guy on the right to have that type of profile at the moment.
Yeah.
Semenyo can do that, but I think Semenyo's quality is so much higher than Semenyo at the stage of Semenyo's career.
Yeah. He's also just a tank. Like, I forget how big Semenyo is until you see him up against other defenders, and you're like, wow, okay. I think
the biggest standout of Semenyo is how he can finish so effortlessly with both feet.
Yeah.
He's a great ball striker. He's a great finisher. And unfortunately for the rest of the Premier League, City have just landed a really good football player.
Yeah.
I said last week that I really wanted a profile like Semenyo to join Liverpool. I think it would have been absolutely perfect type of signing for Liverpool, but they've managed to get in as well. Some other actual transfer news that I'd like to bring up. Have you seen the stuff in the last few days of Gahey and Arsenal?
I have.
Crazy. Do you guys need another fucking centre back?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Mosquera doesn't get on the bench.
No, we really want another centre back. Jack, we need so much defensive fortitude.
We'll take any of your backups. Like, we need centre backs.
You can, we'll give you Ethan Murray on loan.
I'll take him. But basically, fucking Harvey Elliott clone.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Gahey is looking like, and granted, I think from his agent perspective, once that deal falls through in the summer, Gahey is top of the market centre back.
Yeah.
I think wherever he goes, he's going to be paid a whack of money. I think he's England's best centre back.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, unfortunately, is he's going to go to Barcelona.
I wouldn't mind that. Get out of the league. If you're not joining Liverpool, get the fuck out of the league.
And I want him to see in the league. I want to see him do well, but I feel like there's going to be a club that swoops in and picks him up.
I think so too. I hope it's Liverpool. In fact, and I'll tell you this. Maybe my hope is put in the wrong place here. Gahey seems like a very principled man.
Yeah.
He sticks with Palace when he doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. He still plays his best football after that deal falls through. I think there might be an agreement made with Liverpool that whatever happens, Liverpool is his first choice.
Yeah.
But that remains to be seen, and we'll see how that goes. I hope Gahey doesn't. It'd be silly of him, I think, to leave in this window because of the payday he could get in the summer. Yeah. But we'll see, and we'll be sure to talk about that if it does come up. But that's the episode for today, guys. Do you have anything else, Ben?
No, I think that's it. I think this day kind of happened and worked out for both of us.
I'd say so.
I think maybe worked out a little bit more for everyone else in the league.
Yeah.
Specifically City.
Keeps it interesting.
And Villa. Yeah, if you're neutral, today was actually exactly what you needed.
I agree.
If you're a City fan, the 5 or 6 of you who are out there, I think it worked out for you.
On that note, thank you everyone for listening to episode 5 of the Regista Football Podcast. My name is Jack. See ya.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. That was good, man.